Hey guys, welcome to Systems Effect, episode number 1. We're going to be talking about learning disabilities today. Just going to be sharing a little bit about my story and about the struggles that I've had and, everything that kind of came with it. It's just to start off, when I was younger, I was first diagnosed when I was in 2nd grade, I'd say. My mom actually took initiative to, get me tested. I was lucky that she was a social worker, so she knew that I should get assessed. And I actually ended up being diagnosed with ADHD, auditory processing disorder, dyslexia, trouble reading comprehension, didn't learn how to read and write till I was in 4th grade. A string of issues that came along with that. And the fact that school was not my friend, I really struggled. And I needed to find different types of outlets. And that's why so many kids these days, it's so important to find healthy outlets, because if you're struggling in school, and being kind of fit into that box where they expect everybody to learn, that's not going to be a fun place for you. So it was so important for me to be active and be able to have these other outlets. Something that is often talked about and we see a lot is ADHD and medication. There's a lot of different talks and different conversations around medication. For myself, I ended up taking Ritalin at the time. And there's a lot of debate today about it, and everyone has their right to choose whatever they want. For myself, and not really having a say, but it's something that I took. And yes, it did have some side effects of making me feel, strange or, a little bit more dull. But at the end of the day, it did help me to be able to understand and sit still. And I did see, and I could tell looking back that there was definitely positives to it. And I think that, I just wanted to express that, medication is something of everyone's choice, but it is also important to remember that when I was a kid, when you can't sit still and you're always getting in trouble, that also is, turns into negative. So we have to balance those things out. The other thing is talking about resource classes. I was in a class of 4 a lot of times. So I was basically in mainstream classes, but when it came to, the reading and English and that type of things, I was taking out into these classes of 4 or 5 resource classes. A lot of people don't realize because the adults in schools are so focused on the kid getting better, and rightfully so. And we don't really think about what those feelings are like for those kids. And I think that was one of the big things for me is that it did make me feel so different. And it did have a effect on me from a social standpoint. Luckily, I had friends and I was able to, have a good group of friends, but still, I had a lot of friends who were in this gifted and talented program while I was getting taken out into this class of 4. And it was definitely challenging. But at the end of the day, I did need it. I was able to learn how to read. So that was a good thing. And, these disabilities affect everybody in different ways. Just for instance, the name of the company Diffrently, is actually a direct result of a learning disability of mine, because back in the day, when I heard the word differently, I never heard the E. So I just heard differently. So that is why the name of the company is spelt that way. So it is in direct correlation to learning disabilities. And also just being different is way better than being normal anyway. So that's the other piece to it. I think, it's just very important. And I just want to stress from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint that we need to take into consideration the kid always. And we also need to remember that they are a person. And as much as we want them to succeed in school, that we need to also remember that they are a person and that they're still developing these core values and they're still developing as a human, and that those are critical years to make sure that we still hear them and we still take them into consideration, and that we know that we love them and we try to do the best for them. But sometimes doing that isn't allowing them to be who they are. And I think that's something that continues to need to be taken into consideration. So no matter, how challenging, these disabilities can get for these kids, and I understand for parents, nobody wants to actually, see or have to admit that their kid has some type of challenge or disability. But I will express as a professional, it is way better to be real about the situation and not overlook and not take the chance to have a kid assessed to see if they're challenged because of your fear of your kid having that disability. Because in a way, that's in a selfish way, you're limiting the kid from gaining the access of support they need. And then by the time they get older, and then it becomes a much more challenging because it gets to be late in time. So when we think about Diffrently and what we're able to offer for services, we want parents, we want schools, we want everyone to be proactive. We don't need and we don't want people to wait until the kid is struggling, has Fs, and is now in a downward spiral in many other ways because of this. We want to be able to provide support, and by coming to Diffrently, you're able to get linked up with a school social worker and also a mental health professional and talk to them about real things. Like, this isn't therapy. We're there to talk honest. We're there to tell you about how it is. We're there to tell you about the details, the facts, and we're here to guide you. And the last thing that you should do is not take action. So, feel free to book a session with us and let us help you figure out, what the best course of action is, including advocacy when it comes to those child study teams and everything along those lines. It's critical to make sure you have the right group around you. And the last piece is always remember that your kid is a human and that they need to be involved in everything that you guys do, regardless of whether it's adult talk or not, just like a IEP meeting. Always involve the kid because the kid deserves to be involved. Thank you. I'll see you guys for episode 2.